Today's episode is sponsored by Dragon's Den, Games and Hobbies. You can visit them at 552 Main Street in Honesdale, PA, or call them at 570-647-4633.
The Dragon's Den, where gamers unite. Spicy owner in Honesdale under neon lights. Video games, board games, cards at every site. A haven for all, where fun takes flight. Come join the quest in this gaming paradise, where dragons roam free under endless skies. Adventure awaits with every roll of the dice. In Dragon's Den, where the magic never dies. From retro classics to the latest trends, dive into battles with allies and friends. Strategize your moves till the very end. In this realm of games, the fun never ends. Gather round for events galore, a place of joy like never before. Come join the quest in this game paradise, where dragons roam free under endless skies. Adventure awaits with every roll of the dice. In Dragon's Den, where the magic never dies. Unleashing the hive, metal tools will be waging. Join us on the journey, gaming is engaging. NTT Gaming, our mission never raging. From pixels to dice, we discuss it all. The thrill of victory, the bitter list defeats fall. Strategies, campaigns, and characters stand tall. I love for the games, both big and small. Through big swords and cards, our friendship will sprawl. Join us on the journey, gaming is engaging. Anything gaming, our passion never raging. Malaging. Malaging. From pixels to dice, we discuss it all. The thrill of victory, the bitterest defeats fall. Strategies, campaigns, and characters stand tall. I love what the game.
How's it worth $50?
Welcome to another episode of NTT Gaming. I'm your host, Jared, alongside me, Corey and Mike. How are you guys doing?
Every day is more amazing than the next.
Yes. Gotta love life, man. It's been a long week. I'm happy to be at the weekend. I got to work tomorrow. Not super excited about that, but it's only half day. And then we get to the fun stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Corey's got work tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't own my own business or anything, so I don't want to work on the weekend. I don't want to.
Which hard. I do
But
it.
But I have to.
That sucks.
Yeah. But what do we got tonight, Jared? What do we got tonight?
I'm doing a little bit of history on the console wars, and then a little bit of Pokemon because we can.
Because
So,
Pokemon.
it's Pokemon. There's so many of them.
Pokemon is a fucking empire that is never going to die.
There's like 9 generations. I don't know, something like that.
Effing
Yeah.
man.
I think I'm done after like the 3rd generation. I don't know the rest of them.
I had to force myself to learn that.
Yeah, man. I'm old. I don't know all the stuff and the things, but I know enough.
It's the gold standard of gaming. It's what
It really is.
games hold their value. You could trade them in anywhere. And, I got an emerald in the other day, and like out of box, it's worth $150. I mean,
Jeez.
complete, it's like 300. I mean, that's not going anywhere.
What's a Pokemon Yellow worth nowadays?
Oh, I sold one for I think 50 the other day.
Ah, damn, that's not a valuable one.
Nah,
I thought everyone would want the Pikachu feature, you know.
It's pretty good.
But anyway,
I like the-
why don't we cover the console wars first? Get that out of the way because I feel like Pokemon could be a conversation that we could have for such a long time.
we could.
We'll hit the console wars first.
So yeah, I mean, what's your take on how? Who do you choose, Corey? Do you choose Xbox or PlayStation, Nintendo?
See, I'm a PlayStation guy. When I was a kid, I was a Nintendo guy. I'm curious as to when, like, though I've known the term console wars for quite a while now, and I've never understood it. Like, this is an ongoing thing. And then you have PC Master Race over there who says, you know, if you don't game on PC, are you even a gamer? But
yeah,
I don't understand where it all started. I mean, back in the day, it was there were so many exclusives to each console, right? Where nowadays it seems like they're kind of putting all titles on all consoles, to an extent, but a lot more than they used to.
yeah.
So back in the early days, what was the big issue with the console wars? Like, to answer your question, PlayStation all day for me. But number two, where did it start and why did it start? Like, why did this discussion become a huge thing?
A lot of it was between Sega and Nintendo, like with Genesis and Nintendo when they were coming out. What was it? Sega had a slogan that Genesis does what Nintendo don't. Yeah. So
Genesis does what the 10 can't, or something like that.
So I thought it was pretty funny, but yeah, it's just you get each one that's got some sort of different, like something iconic, like, you know, you got Sega, you know, that had like the iconic Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, so you know, you had people that were like ripped back and forth between different consoles because the icons that they had on their games, graphics. I mean, as technology improved, it was just a race to see who could do the better one. I mean, it started in 1972. I think Magnavox Odyssey was the first console that ever got released.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then you start going into Atari and yeah.
Now, there were other ones people made, but it didn't, you know what I mean? It didn't take off near as big as those ones did.
Yep. Let's see what came after that. So yeah, the Atari 2600. So it was 1972 that Magnavox did one. It wasn't until 1977 that a second console came out. So there was a good 5 years before somebody else came out with another console.
But it wasn't game consoles that were like the big thing back then. It was arcades like that kind of stuff. It was, you know, the start of the arcade world, the 80s and the 90s. I mean, the arcades ruled the world. In Scranton, there was Top Dog, and that place was packed on the weekends.
Top Dog, man.
If I could get and here's the thing, to this, I will say it now and I will say it here. If I could get a financial backer, I would reopen Top Dog.
Was that a giant arcade in your area?
Please spread the word. Spread the word.
If I can get the financial backer, I would do it.
I've wanted now for a while. I have wanted to be able to open my own arcade. I always thought that would be a really fun career, running an arcade. And I have different ideas for how I would do it and how to include the nostalgia from my childhood and include some newer age stuff. I think there's a lot of cool ways to do it.
I mean, also a lot of things you have to look at too are the machines are going to go down.
Yes.
You know, people are gross. Those things have to be cleaned daily.
Oh God,
You know, you got to balance between, you know, how much is really those dollar machines going to do. And not everybody wants to walk into the arcade and see nothing but chance games. I'm not there to, you know, win some PS5 that I know I'm never going to win on the cut the snip the cord thing.
Holy shit, man. I was just talking about this with my wife a few weeks ago. I was like, I went into Dave and Buster's one day, and that's exactly what it is. It's all the chance games. Win tickets, go get prizes. I'm like, this is absurd. Well, first off, they have the cards now for every arcade you go to.
Yeah.
You preload the card and you go play the games that way. And every game is like $1, $2, $4. I want the quarter arcades, man. I want to go get some tokens and drop one coin in and get to play the damn game.
Trevino said he'll be your arcade tech.
Like anything else, it became more expensive to do that. I actually looked at turning the back of my store into an arcade before, like when Magic hit a low and all those other things, but they're not 50-cent machines aren't going to cut it anymore. It's just the way of the world, though, unfortunately.
You don't think that those cheap games would cut it?
No.
Dude, I just feel like if I was able to play a game for a quarter or 50 cents, I'd be on that a lot longer and keep feeding it a lot more than I would if I had to play or pay $2 for a game. Like I'd pay $2 to play a game and I'd be done. And maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know, man. But if I walk into an arcade and see $2, $3, like I'm not playing. This is
maybe just a humble gamer here, but back in the I know what you're talking about, loading, the Simpsons, arcade machine or the X-Men one.
Or Golden Axe or something.
50 cents and then going crazy with those. The problem is they don't make them that much anymore. Those machines are becoming less and less people around here willing to fix those things. So if they go down, who's going to fix that? You know what I mean? There's like one guy out in Wilkes-Barre that will do it, but I mean, he knows he's the only guy in town and he's going to charge you a pretty penny to fix those things.
Okay, so here's a question. Now we're going off topic and I'm okay with it. We'll get back to our topic in a moment here, ladies and gentlemen. But is there a market to create newer arcade games based off of newer titles?
Yes, I 100% think if you brought the arcade back and you did it right. I mean, this is not going with a sword and shield. You have to go in with a surgeon scalpel. Like, you have to do this 100% right or else it's not going to work. You can bring an arcade back and be profitable.
There's a huge one in Manassas here in Virginia that's called Round One. It's like a bar. I wouldn't say it's a Dave and Buster's. It's got a bar and a grill in there, but it's massive arcade. And the games that I was seeing in there, it was just a lot of it was like the new age games that you see, like titles that you would see like on consoles and stuff like that. Like there's a lot. It's a pretty huge, for being in a mall, is a pretty huge arcade.
I think if you build it, they will come too.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. If you build it, they will come.
And TMT games.
Very popular line, and I'm so happy you used it. And I know damn well that our other guy, Aaron, would be super proud to hear you use that line.
I did it for Aaron.
I know you did. It's
not too terribly off topic though, because you got to remember, before there was a lot of like home consoles and like the console war started, it was in the arcades that companies were fighting for your quarters. I mean, it was, later on you saw Pac-Man and Galaga and all that stuff. Then later on you saw, Nintendo had a few, I think, arcade games early on that didn't make it that far, but I believe Mario was in a few of them. And then you had Sega come in. Sega was all about the racing games, or you remember the games you sit in the actual motorcycle and you kind of lean in and do that. That was Sega.
Road Rash.
Sega and Capcom had a lot of arcade games.
That was a lot of the fight out there, and that's where they took it to. They took it to the arcades, and then when it was ready to take them home, Nintendo, Sony, and everybody else went to there to just beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah. So if we were gonna try to create newer arcade games, right, based off of newer titles, try to go with different things as far as configuration of controls go, would you try to simulate like the older stuff, like imitate the older stuff where there's a joystick and a couple of buttons on the table there, or are you going to try to utilize the new age controllers and shit, go about it that way?
I think what you have to do is you have to realize that VR is just a part of life now in the gaming world. And VR bars are huge. And what's a VR bar now but a new arcade?
Yeah. I've also been to basically pinball graveyards. Like, you see arcades now that just have pinball machines in the mall, like a little small section, like 2 or 3 pinball machines.
There's just something so satisfying about playing an old pinball machine. It's so fun. So simple, but so fun. And you know what's funny too is last week with this new Hyperkin that I got from Dragon's Den Games and Hobbies, I pulled out my old Nintendo case and I pulled out a game called Pinbot. And I played Pinbot with my daughter. Nerd. And it was so much fun. Big nerd, huge nerd. Love it. Love it. NBA Jam with the newer players, maybe add some realistic touches. Hell yeah, man. Dude, the new sports games like that, like cartoonish style sports games like NBA Jam, that would kill. That would be fantastic.
I think skee-ball is always going to hold a place in arcade. I think there's always going to be a need for the interactive racer. I think there's always going to be a need for the Time Crisis. Dance Dance Revolution comes back every so often where people get all excited for that.
They do have some of those new Dance Dance machines. I saw some new ones. They're not Dance Dance Revolution, but they are the pad style type game.
They're insane now.
Yeah.
Well, they could do newer shooter games with like Call of Duty style, or imagine a Fortnite shooter game. You know what kind of arcade money you could make off of that?
You know, it'd be cool. Like
Ready
Player One style, right? You're on a pad.
That's where we're
haptic
going.
feedbacks on like a vest, gloves. Yeah.
Well, look at the anime Sword Art Online about being, trapped in the video game and all that stuff.
Love that one.
What is that, like 20 years from now? I can 100% 20 years from now everybody plugging into putting on a VR headset and meeting up in some gamer lobby and wherever and just gaming from there.
Yeah.
That's 100% not that far off. You'll see it in your lifetime. You 100% will.
What's up, Aaron? Hey, Aaron, you would be really proud of your boy Mike here. He just used a line from Field of Dreams in relating it to a video game.
If you build an
arcade. Awesome. Dude, I kind of hope that someone takes this idea and runs with it. And I'm sure people have already thought about this and are considering doing it or trying to think of ways right now on how to do it.
I haven't thought about that, but so I always said if I ever won the lottery and I remember these opening up back in the day. I don't know if there were any around you, but having a place where you can go play consoles, right? Like you have TVs set up, like
that's part of almost my arcade idea, Jared.
Something like Dragon's Den does, like with the tables, right? But you got places for people to set up to play consoles, and then you have booths like set up to where if you want to stream, right, you could play people can go use the internet, pay, if you don't have it at home, create these rooms that got backdrops, backgrounds and stuff like that, and have people who want to come in who want to stream but don't have the equipment. We got it all, right? Like we got the equipment, we got the PC, we got the games, we have the whole setup. You can come and stream to Twitch with our equipment. I thought that would be kind of cool. But
that'd be dope.
I think that's like where game stores first started too, was a lot of them were a place you went to go play not World of Warcraft, but Warcraft. And Warcraft 3, back in the day when you went to these there was just rows of PCs at these places, and that's where you started because maybe you couldn't afford the home computer at the time, or you wanted to game with all your friends, and that's where we were all going to meet up. We're all going to meet up here. We're all going to get on the PCs, and we're all going to do there.
And then when your time runs out, you swipe your credit card for more time. Screenshots off. Any more time?
Like a little quarter machine on the desk there.
Yeah.
Insert quarters. Chris says random, but the Division came out in 2007 about a virus that started around November, December, and stacks of bodies everywhere in quarantine zone. Sounds familiar. You're right. I think I heard about that. I heard the parallels with that.
I like the Division.
Definitely off topic, but yeah, dude. Like,
not so much.
Cool. But Jared, that was part of my idea with the arcade thing that I wanted to do. Is I would set up like old school style arcade games, but then also utilize that with the newer stuff, like use the consoles, set up your own little booths, your own little private sections.
But like,
and the
like
streaming
nice,
thing's a nice
comfortable
touch.
Couches, or even like those new style gaming chairs, right? Where you sit back, they
recline,
recline, and you got the screen, like the
Stay
whole.
away from couches.
The whole system.
Yeah, no
right?
casting couches, sir.
Stay away from couches.
Bad news.
Yeah.
Too many people can get on a couch. Too many things can be done on a couch. Yeah. Bad news bears.
In front
First
of
thing every game store does when they buy a game store is make sure there's no couches in there, because that's the first thing you get rid of.
Yeah.
So if we ever get the money together, okay, now we got to start our own arcade. We've got ideas, we can run with it. And Jared, I like your idea with the streaming, because that sounds just like these places that are putting together podcasting studios, even though podcasts are dying and not as good as radio. Sorry, I went off topic again there.
It just, I saw
not a call
I saw stuff like that open back in the day where it was just you can go in and play video games. It was almost like a nice little atmosphere. Like, but yeah, you'd have to pay
Chris,
like
no black leather
when your
couch.
time runs out, 60 minutes. You pay for it. They got a little machine next to the PC that anytime your internet runs out, you had to pay more to get more time. But it died out. Like, I don't know, it just died out, and I never saw him again. So that's why I was like skeptical about like, okay, was there a reason why they all just went extinct?
Yeah,
like
the home console and the console war. That's why they all went extinct. Why should I go travel and pay money when I could just go home and just buy the game for what at the time, $60, $50, and you can just go play it at home. The trial kiosks. That's where
seriously, how many stores that had one of these trial kiosks like ended up having that be the babysitter for so many kids in the store?
I want to know how far from grace we fell to get rid of Funko Land, how amazing Funko Land was, but nobody seems to remember those. You got to try the game before you brought it home. Like, how amazing was that?
Yeah. That is pretty awesome.
What's Link to the Past like? I don't know. Plug it in for 5 minutes and see if you like it. If you like it, buy it. If not, try something else.
Yep.
Oh wait, I do that. Never mind.
They don't want you to do that because they want you to buy the game even if you're not going to like it. And then you come back and you buy another game.
I bought a lot of games that I've not liked.
Or you let them try it for 5 minutes. They love it or whatever. I do it here. I let people try it for a couple minutes if you don't like it or not.
See, people, Dragon's Den does things the right way. Make sure you go check them out. 552 Main Street, Honesdale, BA. Jared is bombastic.
This is true.
So going back to console wars and where it started, how it started, and all that. Did it start more of like more as a corporate thing? Was it more amongst the companies themselves? And because nowadays it just seems like when people mention console wars, it's just a bunch of bratty gamers yelling back and forth at each other about which one's better.
Well, it kind of goes back to even the days of, like, you can say like baseball, like when the Yankees versus Red Sox rivalries, all these other rivalries. I mean, now it's just like there's no rivalries really that much anymore. It's kind of fizzled out from what it was. It's the same with like the console wars. Like, everybody either has all of them anymore, or it's like, oh, you like Xbox, cool, whatever. I mean, back then it was like your friends were divided between, like 360, PS3, PS2, and or if you had like Nintendo, that was the whole like division. It did start off in the arcades. We did not go that far off. I mean, and then eventually you could just go home and just play them at home and then play with your friends over online. But I mean, there was a time where it was a knockdown billion-dollar drag out between Nintendo, Sony, Sega, and who was going to get the big exclusive first.
Yeah, you were always watching E3. Yeah.
I watch E3 at the store all the time. They rewatch the old E3 episodes. And if you remember, Final Fantasy VII was supposed to be on the Nintendo. And it was like a last minute change to throw it on Sony. Like, it was literally 5 minutes of guys sitting in an office saying, okay, we're doing it. Here we goes. Nothing.
So, all right. Yeah. God damn it. Now I'm going to go off course. How did that not split, but how did that divergence come about? Because it was a Nintendo game up through 6, and then it went to Sony for 7 and just stayed there.
Yep.
So what happened? Did they just sell the rights to it, or how'd that happen?
Oh, from what I remember, and I very well could be wrong about this, it was Sony or Square Enix or Squaresoft at the time, wanted to do something with the graphics. They weren't happy with it, and Sony kind of said, hey, put it on a CD. We'll give you exactly what you want, so it doesn't look like that top-down, little chibi character. We're going to actually do 3D rendering on it. Nintendo's like, we can't do that yet. And they're like, fine, we're going to Sony. And this was like a literal, like, last minute in a boardroom, like, okay, well, if this works, we're going to be golden. If it doesn't work, well, we're kind of boned and we're out a couple million. And here we are, and it works. And then
after a few benchmarks and the demos, when they were demoing it, it became clear that the PlayStation met all of the demands where the N64 was not able to. So Square tried to make many attempts to scale it down to be able to play it on the N64, but it just couldn't. So they had to switch to Sony.
And that caused like the biggest ruffle in the world, because that was like Nintendo lost one of its prized possessions, which was like Final Fantasy. And I mean, you can remember when PS1 came out, they didn't really have the gaming mascot that Nintendo had. Nintendo had Mario, Sega had Sonics, and Sony needed something to be like, we got to be in this fight too. And that's where our friend Crash Bandicoot kind of came out to be as the store mascot, where the old commercials were him pulling up to like Nintendo's parking lot and trash talking Nintendo. And like, that was a big thing. And, you know, Xbox came out, and Xbox was kind of floundering until Halo came out.
I'm trying to think of what Final Fantasy VII will look like if it had been on the N64.
Even more blocky than it already was. Oh my god!
Yes,
you wouldn't have had the cutscenes that they had.
There's no way you
like,
couldn't do
so
it.
As far as the polygons go with the regular imaging and shit, maybe N64 could have pulled that off, but there's so many cutscenes in that game. You would have never got, like, you would have had the same look in the cutscenes that you had everywhere else. It wouldn't have looked any different.
Well, I mean, that led into the handheld world of the big wars between, remember the Game Gear? I don't know if you remember that thing that Sega
Game
cranked
Gear.
out.
Yep.
You could take it on the go because there was already Nintendo. Nintendo had the Game Boy going out there. And what was, you know, that was dull and boring after a while because, I mean, you got to remember, Pokemon didn't hit to the late 90s. And for Nintendo, it was like, oh, I don't want to play Tetris. Look at this Game Gear. I can play color games of, you know, Sonic.
Jurassic
and take
Park.
it with me. That was amazing. And
Jurassic
Jurassic Park
Park
and the
on Game Gear.
incredibleness it was.
So that game was so fun on there.
Oh, yeah, it was. And that's kind of where it was the big kind of move into the console wars was that. Because then if you remember, Sony knocked out the PSP not that long ago. I mean, by now it's a long time ago, but then that was huge. For those little CDs you put in your, you know, the console, that was big. And I mean, they dropped with a huge game. They did Crisis Core on that thing. And everybody and their brother went out and bought Crisis Core.
So it's really funny because Final Fantasy VII is the reason I wanted a PlayStation to begin with, and then Crisis Core is the reason I wanted a PSP. That game, that franchise, made me want Sony.
Yeah, and it played movies. That was huge.
Yep.
That there was movies on the PSP you could do. It was, you know, online was a little shaky and trembly, but I remember how amazing that was. That you got to play movies on the go on these little things. You got to play games anytime you wanted. It went to the PlayStation Store and you could download 7, 8, 9 on that thing. You could do Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 on this thing. You could do Crash Bandicoot. It was incredible. Yeah. Nintendo had to bounce back with something, and Nintendo had to go to the 3DS and like the DS and the DSi and the DSi XLs. And like that was where, you know, they knew what they had when Pokemon blew up on the Game Boy. That thing, nobody expected it to be as big as it did, and it was huge.
Yeah. And as far as Pokemon is concerned, you know, when I was a kid, I first saw the show and then I heard about the game. But in actuality, that game came way before the show came out, didn't it?
Not too much, you know. I mean, Nintendo saw the home run with it, and they capitalized on it one year.
If you consider it, because it was out in Japan before it even came close to making its way to the States, right?
Yep.
Like I think it was early 90s in Japan, right?
97, 96, I think.
Yeah, but when they created Pokemon, they literally created a monster. Like that is something that is going to continue to grow until I'm dead and gone, I'm sure.
Pokemon is worth more than some countries like gross domestic. Like it's ridiculous how big that is. That's what won them the handheld wars is Pokemon came out and everybody blew up and fell in love with. There's one Pokemon everybody has that everybody loves, and that's the truth. Sorry, it's
yep.
Whether it's Eevee or Pikachu or whoever it is from the 1,000 plus there is now. I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's a $1 billion franchise. I mean, Dragon's Den runs on Charizard.
Yeah, it was a good 2 year separation. 1996, it came out in Japan. In 1998, came out in the U.S.
Okay, so it wasn't as early as I thought. It was all right, mid to late.
One of the voice actors was around Jessup, if I'm not mistaken.
Was around where?
Jessup.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No shit. I had no idea.
I didn't either. Somebody told me that. He goes, yeah, the voice actor for Jesse from Team Rocket was from Jessup. I'm like,
oh, that's awesome.
But I got something cool, Mike, because I know you know your Pokemon.
Yeah,
so
boy.
I want to do
Not as much
something.
as I used to, but
So we're going to.
Who's that Pokemon?
Pikachu.
All right,
If you're still hanging out,
first one.
It's Jinx.
easy peasy.
Okay, I only know the Geodude. I only know the 151 guy.
I'm the 151 guy too. Past first gen. I don't
Me
know,
too.
man.
Alakazam, my favorite.
That's one of my favorites too.
Magikarp, the goat.
The goat.
You never struggle, you never grow.
Splash.
Aerodactyl.
I always thought that one was pretty cool.
Dragonite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dratini, Dragonite. Yep.
Yeah. See, you're a Gen 1 guy too.
Grovoil.
I didn't know this one.
Brad. Pikachu.
You can never guess that one. Never.
It's Aaron. Gyarados, of course. Bulbasaur. Sandshrew.
Mm-hmm.
Kingler?
I think that's Kingler.
Is it Kingler? I thought Kingler had like the triple crown thing
No.
on the top.
Krabby's
Kingler is
got-
a triple. Krabby is the one that has 2 on its
Yeah.
head. Yeah.
Aaron.
Aaron.
Aaron. Sceptile.
Sceptile. I thought it was Sceptile, but it's actually Grovoil from
I'll
third generation.
Yes,
Yeah.
I didn't play in that one. See, I started with red and blue. When I was a kid, man, I got Pokemon Red. And my younger sister got Pokemon Blue. So when I found out that you could trade with other people, I was like, that's perfect. We both have different games. We can trade. This is cool. That always ends badly when you're a kid, by the way. You don't want to trade, especially cards. That always ends badly too. But no, that was a really cool feature. Like I didn't see anything before Pokemon where you could use a Game Link cable like that, or I still don't know of anything afterwards that you could utilize something like that and play together with one another.
You buy those data transfer cables for the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And it was clever how they did it too, where you have to trade with someone of the other game in order to get everything.
Cha-ching.
I'll tell you what, though, if my wife played Pokemon and you wanted to trade her, good luck.
Yeah, no trade.
She would not trade anything.
She likes hers.
You know how it is playing Monopoly and trying to buy properties?
Really? Yeah.
She's like, nope, won't do it.
So I loved the 2 originals, and then came Yellow. And I think Pokemon Yellow was a game changer because it came after the anime.
Well, it absolutely was. Pikachu was following behind you. Do you remember the commercial for it? It was literally, now it's you and Pikachu going off on the adventure, beating up Team Rocket and taking it all on. You got Bulbasaur, Charizard, Squirtle in the same game. You didn't have to trade for those. You got his dream team. And then the games went on to Gold and Silver, and your last big rival was Red, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, that one was really cool, and you could spend hours on it, man. Like I always say, kids today, they just don't have the attention spans that we used to as kids because of games like this, the traditional RPG. That it's just just grind it out, build your levels. Yeah, you go into your gym battles, and it's a cakewalk because you spend so much time just wandering and leveling up.
Well, look at them now. They're all on auto level with your other ones, so they'll just all level up with you. I mean, that wasn't the case with Red and Blue. You had to send that first one out, level him up, and then send your second one out to fight, and had to XP share.
What kind of player were you? So like there was, and I'm sure everybody's done this because there was points in the game where you just avoided the eye contact with the players because I don't want to fight. Like I just want to keep going on my path. And you would look through the grass to see if you can get around
them.
and then you're like, shit, because here comes the battle. Like the wild Pokemon appears, and you're like, shit, I shouldn't have gone around. I hate, yeah, I hated it. Kind of like, I mean, not, I didn't hate it like Final Fantasy. I like Final Fantasy, but it was the random battles that would pop up that you were just like, oh my god, let's just keep moving with the game.
Every cave,
I love it. I love
every cave had a Zubat for every 5 steps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I enjoy stuff like that because it makes you plan out and prepare, and you can only do so much and go so far. You have to have your items ready. Like, it's all strategy, man. That's why I love it. It's all strategy driven. Tom said, did I play Pokemon Go? He used to take his son to cemeteries around the Scranton area to find some spots. Yes, I used to play Pokemon Go a lot. I do not have it on my current phone. But the one thing I liked about Pokemon Go is with the Pokemon Switch with Eevee and Pikachu, let's go Pikachu, let's go Eevee. You could trade Pokemon from your Pokemon Go game to those 2 games.
You could. Oh, that's neat.
They also came out with
that device that you can get too, right? The watch, like the thing you put on your wrist to, if you don't have your phone open, it would, I don't know what
count your steps,
like,
so you could hatch the eggs and shit.
Yeah, and I thought it would help you catch Pokemon when you're not on your phone, but
they were, and it was a little Pokeball you can buy at like GameStop or Walmart.
So the one thing I absolutely despise about Pokemon Go is how much it kills my phone's battery. That's why I haven't downloaded it again, because it just drains the battery so badly. So bad. But yeah, Tommy said I was horrible and did while cruising during work. Yeah.
Well,
see, and that's the bad thing about Pokemon Go is a lot of people get hurt because of it.
Pokemon Go was incredible though for when it came out. You have to remember, was it 2018 when that game came out?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
I'll say 2018, and Candy Crush was ruling the mobile world. And they said, we're the biggest thing out there. Nothing can beat us. And Nintendo sent a picture of Giovanni that said, is that so?
2016.
And they dropped Pokemon Go. Congratulations, I could be a trainer in the real world. And people just lost their minds over this thing.
That is cool.
Traveling all over and catching them, and like, oh, they're all out there. Just go walk and you'll catch them. And people like swarmed parks and churches and wherever there was a stop to go check out and see what's out there. It's nuts.
Well, and that's the other great thing about that game, about Pokemon Go, is that it got people up and moving when some of them wouldn't normally be doing that. Like it's not like the biggest form of exercise, but I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of great stories behind it. Like you said, there's people that got up and moved and lost weight and got in shape, and they got more physically fit. They got healthier, all because they're moving around catching Pokemon. I will say though, make sure you pay attention to your goddamn surroundings, people. Seriously.
But I mean, if that's a positive thing that came out of it, I mean, got kids off their asses to go outside and walk around and go touch grass and stuff. I mean, good for them.
Seriously. Yeah. No, it's a good thing. And my son was ecstatic when I stopped playing Pokemon Go. He brought his Switch to me. He's like, can you trade me some of your really strong Pokemon from Pokemon Go? Sure, I can do that for you, bud.
Bet you if I re-downloaded mine would still be there.
What did you think of? Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't get any high levels or anything like that. Like I was like, I never got a legendary one, man. Like they were all base level Pokemon. Like
well, you had to go. Evolved. You had to go get involved with those boss battles to get those good ones.
Yeah,
I did a couple of those. Felt like a weirdo, but it was still fun.
It's fun. Go do it.
Yes, exactly. If you're gonna enjoy it and you're gonna have a good time with it, go do it.
You're gonna be a nerd.
Pay attention to your surroundings. So I'm gonna reiterate that a million times because some people don't do it. So when Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu came out, what did you think of that game? Like, I know we grew up on the older stuff where you have to grind out your levels and the old way of doing things. Then these two came out. And like you said before, you get experience for your entire party, and it's no longer battles. It's just catching Pokemon after Pokemon after Pokemon. It's like Pokemon Go on the Switch.
Yeah, but I mean, in a sense, they're kind of passing the torch. I mean, we can't stay in 1998. I mean, it's just the way it is, you know. I see literally nothing wrong with it. It's cool. It was a neat to see somebody else. Like I watched my nephew play it, and it was fun to see him go to like Viridian City or go to like go fight Misty or go fight Brock and go fight like Sabrina and all that. And you're sitting there laughing about it, and you're like, man, I do remember that fight. I remember that fight would kick my ass all over the place. Or he went up to the one tower to go get the master ball and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I did that with like 5 HP left on like a Squirtle. Like that thing kicked my ass all over the place. And he just runs up there and grabs it. I'm like, man, I sucked at this.
It has its good things about it. It has its bad things about it, I think. Well, not that there's many bad things about it. Like I just think, and maybe it's because I grew up with it and because I'm a little bit of a snob with it. Like I liked the fighting. Like that was the grind for me. And like you said earlier too, in the older games, you'd have to start with one Pokemon, the beginning of the battle, bring them out. That's how you get the shared experience through the battle. You had to plan out. Same as I said before, it's about the strategy for me. That's what I loved about those games. It's why I love Final Fantasy. It's the strategy, the planning, the grinding.
I call Pokemon the Saturday Night Live because what's your favorite, like they would say with Saturday Night Live, what's your favorite, like, generation? I said, it's the one you grew up with. For a lot of these kids, it's Diamond and Pearl because that's what they grew up on. For me, it was Red and Blue. I mean, it was the 90s, 80s Saturday Night Live, as they say, that was like the funny era to you, where it was like Adam Sandler and all that stuff, because that's what you grew up with, or the Chevy Chase, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same with Pokemon and all that stuff, where, I mean, that single-handedly won Nintendo the console war for that time. And, now it's just Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo slugging the crap out of each other, and then Nintendo kind of took a step back and said, we're just going to make our own games. If you want to play them, come have fun. If you don't want to, whatever. I mean, they're not chasing Call of Duty. They're not chasing the big sports games or whatever. Nintendo is, we're making fun. If you want to come with it, go ahead. I said there's a really fun, I think somebody made it online, and it was Uncle Iroh from Avatar talking about the different game consoles. And he's like drawing out the symbols, and it's kind of funny where he's talking to, God help me, I do not know their names, the kid with the burn on the side of his face. And he's talking to him, and he's like, the gaming world is a very unique place, and there's something for everyone. Nintendo is the game that when they have something that works, they go through with it, and it's great. Sony's for the people that enjoy first-person games. Xbox builds community that can last a lifetime. PC loves mods. And he's like, why are you telling me this, Uncle Iroh? He's like, so you don't become an obnoxious fanboy later on in life about this and understand that there's games for everyone. And,
Yes.
I mean, now you talk to people and they're like, yeah, my kid's got a Switch. I have the Xbox and I have a PC in my room, and that's what I game with. And that's what everybody has right now, or a PlayStation or whatever.
I mean, I didn't really have a PS5 till much later, but Final Fantasy is what got me to switch it. But I have the PC, so I had the Xbox for years and years. I mean, I was all about the Xbox. I could do everything I can do on the Xbox on my PC. So why not go get a PS5 console? So Xbox has the PC Game Pass. Anything really you can get on the console, you can play on your PC. So just makes sense.
Yeah. And I'll forever say I could never be a mouse and key guy. I know PC is supposed to be master race for true gamers, yada yada. I couldn't do mouse and key, and I know you can hook up an Xbox controller and play that.
That's what I do. I still can't do mouse and keyboard, so
yeah, that's just tough for me.
Tommy says,
"Yes, I'll play Minecraft. Maybe I should get that on Steam. I could sit up here by myself playing Minecraft on my computer.
Power World, you can play.
Let's get into that in just a second, since we're on Pokemon here. Tommy says, Mike's not ready for this. He doesn't want to talk about this. Tommy says, my son has me playing Marvel Strike Force for the last 3 years. Almost every single day, I'm drained. What's Marvel Strike Force?
I pulled it up here because I was actually looking at it.
That's all you, Jared.
Is this like a fighting game?
I think it's Marvel? It's a mobile game.
It's a mobile.
Oh.
I think I downloaded this once. I used to play games like this, Marvel Strike Force, and then Star Wars had Galaxy of Heroes. That was kind of like
Robbie?
Every Star Wars character. This one's got every Marvel character. You can recruit them and fight. It looks pretty fun, actually.
So, did you know that Jurassic World made a game that's similar to Pokemon Go, where instead of catching Pokemon,
Yes,
you catch dinosaurs?
And I lost my life to that game.
You played on it.
Was it like that? Because there was also a Jurassic World that was like a top-down build game.
Yeah, there's that one too. I mean, there's a Jurassic World game on the PlayStation Store right now.
Okay.
Evolution, or I forget what it's called, but it's like, yeah, you like build your own park or whatever.
Yeah, it's almost like dinosaurs park, but it's with dinosaurs. Yeah.
This one is Jurassic. I don't know what it's called. I don't think it's Go. It's Jurassic World.
Well, there's one where you're building your park, and there's one where you're catching the dinosaurs, and there's like
this one is like so cool. It's like Pokemon Go, but instead of throwing Pokeballs, you're like shooting. You're shooting dinosaurs with the anesthesia shit, the darts, the darts, and you're catching them that way. I think it's cool. It was a lot of fun. I don't have that one anymore either because it did the same thing, drained the shit out of my battery. That's cool, Anthony Jameson.
Watch our variety show where we talk about that kind of stuff.
Our variety show has all kinds of fun stuff. That's usually on Sundays and Mondays. Wrestling show is Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Fridays is for video games. Let's see. College Football 25 got me back into gaming. The attention to detail is amazing. I heard that a lot. I think a lot of people like that one. So back to Pal World. Or you could finish your thought since you have one there, Mike.
No, I mean it's amazing that like you could tie this into Pal World, where Pokemon started this whole thing where it was like Pokemon brought in Digimon and all that stuff, and like there's been a billion Yokai Watch spin-offs because of Pokemon starting that all. And then for Pokemon staying stagnant for so long, people were like, oh, there has to be something better. And that's where Pal World kind of came from. Pal World came from people being tired of like the same, like the last game was broken and people were tired of that. People were so sick of like, oh, great, another sprite broken, another thing where my Pokemon is just spinning in circles and it's not being fixed, and this is it. So people came out with Pal World and gave Pikachu an AR-15 and the ability to make everything communism, where we get to mine our mine, and go to work. If not, I'll shoot you. So
I will say I probably spent a good, over 50 hours on Pal World.
Did you?
It's pretty fun.
So
I'm not gonna lie, I like it.
The only reason I was going to ask about Pal World is to see where they're at with this whole Pokemon Nintendo suing them and shit. Is that still ongoing?
I don't think it's so much of they tried, but there was like enough differences where they couldn't get into it. People just kind of like anything else, just lost interest and went on to other games. And I mean, that's kind of where.
So yeah, and it was a lot of it. A lot of it was like they were saying it was plagiarism.
Jared, can you do me a favor and find some comparison images between Pal World and Pokemon?
I can do that. And
while you give your points.
So my point kind of was like, so
I didn't know
when you think about electricity, what color do you think?
Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So Pokemon can't sit there and say they own the rights to an electrical monster that's yellow, right? So the likeness there, they can't really say that. So they can create something that's electrical monster and paint it yellow because Pokemon doesn't own that right, so but I'll show you the similarities. And
do we think of yellow when we think lightning because of Pokemon though? Because I mean technically we should think white. Lightning.
My little brain goes to Pikachu and I think lightning is just the way it is.
Yeah. 120 damage, 4 energy, Charizard. I bootlegged that game and it didn't end well for my PC. Which one's that, Tom? Are you talking about Pal World? Oh God. I should utilize my Steam account more and try to play games on this goddamn PC.
Yeah, Corey.
Here was one comparison.
Bruh.
So
bruh.
So here's the thing. They used AI to create these images. And one can argue that AI is the one that plagiarized them off of Pokemon. So let me show you what.
But you know as well as anybody else, Jared, AI creates based on the prompts that it is given.
It does.
Told you the AI was downfall of humanity.
I've said this for the longest time. For anybody who is interested, go back and listen to episode 17 of our newest, freshest season since we started doing video podcasts, where we discuss the social dilemma, and it talks about how we think the AI is going to be the downfall of society. Social media will be the downfall of society. All that shit. All that fun shit.
100% it is.
So here's a few more if you kind of see what.
They get a pass on that one.
Although Electabuzz looks more like.
I was gonna say
that
Electabuzz.
I was like, that's Electabuzz more than was Pikachu. Yeah, you're stretching. Yeah, kind of, but you can also see where it's not.
It doesn't have the orange dots on the crown, so
Man.
it's not plagiarism.
But that one's a dragon. It's not a flower.
And that's where they won. They kind of said it's not, though.
It's
But
not the
Nintendo-
same design. There are
Nintendo also
similarities,
didn't
of
look
course.
petty. Nintendo didn't also look petty, and they just said, fine. They knew it was a passing fad. They knew that next whatever, it's going to last for so long before people just lose interest in it.
You know who's going to like Pal World more than Pokemon? The same people that liked Digimon more than Pokemon. The people who think it's cool to just be associated with counterculture.
I like
Fucking
Digimon.
Fucking
Not more
Digimon.
than Pokemon,
The creators
but-
of Digimon were like, you know what? What if Pokemon talked? Yes.
What if
$1 million idea.
You turn into a refrigerator with assault weapons for hands.
Yes. I couldn't do Digimon, man. I just couldn't do it. I
It was
tried.
good.
I couldn't.
Yeah, those are the better comparisons.
But I mean, like you say with the electrical thing and the Pikachu, I'm like, no, they won that one because like that wasn't even close to looking like Pikachu. I could see where but I don't see Power World becoming ever as big as like Pokemon. It was just a flash in the pan, and like everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's gonna last forever," and I'm like, "No, it's not. It's gonna."
And then you had people coming out because you can actually discipline your pals. So people were saying it was inhumane.
You can make them mine coal. It looked like a little North Korean sweatshop in there. They're all like mining coal for you and having like a processing factory and all that stuff. And
Our society has gotten way too soft. I'm sorry, that should be left for the variety show. Back to video games. Anywho.
any hoozle. But that was the whole like Nintendo winning the handheld console wars, and then the big thing with Xbox was they were the king of the sports games because they were all playing online. Xbox was associated with playing with your friends online. So damn it, Uncle Iroh was right again. And this is the communities that you built, for a lifetime. That was like, how'd you guys meet? Oh, we met in the Xbox chat room. We were talking. It was pretty incredible to watch, friends you played with in Minnesota or whatever, playing the same Halo chats as you and all that stuff. And they won the online thing. They really did.
That's what got me into the online multiplayer was Halo.
Yeah, and Sony won in its own way. Sony did its thing where it's like, we are the JRPG, that stuff and everything else. And
what's up, Robbie?
I mean, Halo was a huge part of Xbox. What saved Xbox? But I mean, after Halo, was it Reach? Halo Reach was the end of Halo for a lot of people because they said 4 was awful and all the other ones were just like 5 was like, it was supposed to be this big, oh my god, Master Chief versus, whether it was like there's a Spartan Lock or whatever it is, and they were supposed to have this big fight out, and it just looked like 2 fat kids running into each other in the hallway, and that's all they did. It was like a shoving match, and then that was it. And they were like, well, you lied to us again, thank you. But I mean, they went off to go make Destiny. That was the original Halo staff went off to go do that. So I mean,
now they got Infinite, which is back to the whole multiplayer. battle royal type
Well,
like Halo was. So
that's like we've discussed already a few weeks ago. That is the direction of the gaming world right now.
I'll have to download it, Robbie. I'll play it with you.
It's crazy.
So for you, Mike, what's the newest system for the holiday season?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I mean,
Tell Tommy behind you. Tell he's local. Tell him behind you. Tommy, check this out.
I think the retro stuff is making a huge comeback. People are just tired of buying $80 games and getting half of a game and then being like, I spent $80 on this, but it's pretty and you'll buy it. And here's some skins. Here's $20. You'll buy it. It's, well, I got to play Grand Theft Auto. You're not playing Grand Theft Auto for another 5 years. Let's be honest. You know, and they were talking about pay per hour with that, which I don't think they're going to do, but it's like, you'll buy it. But a lot of our older generations, such as me in our 40s and 30s, are kind of going back to Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and all those games because they were like, well, at least when I bought a game, I got the whole game.
GoldenEye.
I've been selling more PS2s, Wii's, you know, the hyper consoles behind me, where it's like, you know, Nintendo 64 and all that stuff has been the big game for a while now.
So Tommy, what he's got behind him is called a Hyperkin. It's a console replacement, basically. So I got one off of them that plays just old school Nintendo games, the original NES games. You pop your NES or your NES cartridge in, and it plays it just like it was an NES console. Okay, I got the one that's just the regular Nintendo, and it works flawlessly. Like I told him, I grabbed my old NES game, I put in Super Mario first, then I tried my Ninja Turtles game. Pop those bad boys in without having to blow in the cartridge. It fired right up. It plays right on any TV screen. It has an HDMI cable, right? So it's super baller. It has a switch on the back that you can choose the ratio, right? So you can do widescreen that fills out your whole TV, or like, what is it, 4x416, whatever the fuck it is, 16:4. But it's super cool. He's got that one there is the one I want to get. Plays 5 different, 5 different systems,
systems.
Which is awesome.
It's not just advanced. They'll play the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy games too.
Yes, and he has one that plays like the old Game Boy games too. It's like, it's really cool. It's not an emulator.
These are not emulators. You actually need the games to play them.
Yeah, you need the games.
Pop it in and play.
But yeah, when I was there, that's the one I was gonna get. My wife would have killed me if I would have bought it, but I was gonna get that.
Aaron, come pick up yours. That plays the original Nintendo games.
That's the one I have.
$25. These are not emulators where half the time they don't work and the other half are written in Russian. Like it's you need the games.
Yep. But
I mean,
that's
Corey,
what
you
makes
bought
them
one.
so
You tell
great.
me was it or not?
What's that?
You bought one. You tell me. You know what I mean?
I love it, man. Like I said, I popped the game cartridge in, and
No
it
blowing.
fired right up. I didn't have to blow it.
Oh,
No
that's
blowing
good news.
No blowing necessary. Okay. I didn't have to warm up the oven. No foreplay. Just stick it right in, and it works. It's fantastic. And the cool thing about the original NES one that he just showed you that I have, the original NES controllers plug right in and they work.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's awesome.
Now,
And
do
you know
I
what?
have any of those NES controllers? No.
But here's the cool thing though. It gives me another hobby, a fun hobby, going out and trying to find more retro games to bring home to play.
Yeah.
So now I get to go look for Nintendo games instead of trying to go out and buy PlayStation games and shit. I can go buy an NES game.
Yeah, it's
ironic. I'm getting more into
Dragon's Den, 552 Main Street.
Yep.
getting
That's in
more into
Honesdale,
tomorrow.
Tommy. Come up and see him. Come up and see him.
You know, they're on my webpage or my web store. If you guys want to grab one, I'll mail
That's
one.
right. He's also shipping them.
DragonsDenPA.com.
570 dragonsden570.com.
There you go. 570
Ninja
dragonsden570.com.
Turtles 2. Yeah.
That's the one I have, Robbie. I have that game and I played it the other day. Still cool.
This
as
one's
shit.
Robbie's a coworker of mine.
Sweet. But yeah, it works great. Yeah, the Turtles 2 game that I have is the arcade game. Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade.
Yeah, that one's good. I like that one.
I love it. I haven't beaten that game since I was like 7 years old.
Is that
Might be time.
Is that Turtles in a Half Shell, or is that the ooze? There's one that had the ooze. I can't remember which.
This one's not the ooze.
Yeah, okay.
Ninja Turtles 2, the ooze was like Secret of the Ooze. That was the movie.
Well, yeah, but I think I thought they incorporated it into the game.
Yeah, I remember which one you're talking about because Toka and Rainzar were in it, and that was like the big deal.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the big holiday idea, the holiday gift idea now, guys. So you can get down to his shop on Main Street in Honesdale, Dragon's Den Games and Hobbies, or you can go online at dragonsden570.com, click on the games section, and check out his selection. You're constantly adding new shit on there, right, Mike?
They go fast. I've already had to restock like 3 times already. They go pretty fast.
Jeez.
He spends a lot of time updating the website, people.
I try. Well, it keeps selling out. Oh no, how awful!
Terrible situation, Mike. Terrible situation.
What do you do? Don't buy things. Oh no.
No, bad news bears.
I love the idea. I'm because I had a Sega Genesis that I bought from Walmart back in the day, where it was like, the preloaded ones. You get all the Sega Genesis games on it. It was pretty cool. I just don't have any old games anymore. I think I got rid of all my Game Boy games, my PlayStation games. Now I have somebody at work that has basically like you do, Mike, has a very vast collection of video games. So, I mean, there's that. I could always get them if I need to. So
I have to update weekly. I mean, I go through like inventory like it's water. It's crazy. I mean, I went through 5 copies already of red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, platinum. Awesome. Like within a week, I've gone through 3 copies of each. I had to restock those. Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9 don't last long in here. Any of the old school Game Boy games, like anything that's the gold Zeldas, I went through like a baker's dozen of those already. Like it's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's awesme.
It's crazy when you sell things at reasonable prices, people will buy them. It's a weird concept I have where it's like, make it affordable, they'll do it. What do I know?
Now, I had a vast collection of Xbox games, and then when I bought the Xbox One, I realized that I bought the digital version.
Womp.
So I ended up giving all those games to my buddy, but yeah, he's got a vast collection of stuff. But what do you think about the whole thing with the difference between the digital and the disc versions of these consoles?
I have both, and I'm a hypocrite to say I don't like the digital because I own a few games digitally, but it's like, I don't know. It's just the way we're going. Love and hate, however you feel about it, that's where we're going. If you don't like it, sorry. You got it's one of those things, get with the times, and that's
you saw the 360. The 360 got rid of the subscription service, online service.
360 finally, left.
Crazy.
It was so cool to watch a bunch of old players sit around their Xboxes and like they were like talking, sharing their memories. Like it was really cool. Like I think it's on YouTube, and it was talking about like a guy met his wife on like an Xbox chat room and like met his his best friends there, and they're like signed on to the like Halo thing one more time. We're like, ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure and an honor to meet all of you here. And it was like the somber moment knowing that this is going to be gone forever.
I met some good people playing video games.
True story.
Yeah,
true story. Getting the hard copy is nostalgia. Digital is just ways for the companies to make more money. Truth, Robbie.
Well, yes and no.
I like having a physical copy in my hand. I think that's why I keep getting drawn back to the retro consoles. Just having that physical copy in my hand makes me happy. I can't stand. See, now I have multiple consoles in my house, multiple PlayStation consoles in my house. My kids don't play on mine. They don't use my profile or their own profiles on my account. They have their own consoles. So if I buy a game online on my account, they can't play it on their account. They can't play it on their PlayStation. If I have a hard copy and I buy one hard copy for the house, everybody can play it. That's what I hate about the digital shit.
Well, that's what beat the PS4, beat the Xbox One, was because Xbox One was doing all that. You couldn't game share unless they were on your friends list and all that stuff. And Sony did this shot commercial for Xbox. It was like how to trade a game on your PlayStation. The guy hands the other guy a game and goes, "Here you go, thanks." And it just said PlayStation.
Yeah, and now you got Xbox where I pay. My wife doesn't like it, but I pay the subscription for both PS5 and the Xbox. But I pay for the Ultimate for Xbox, so I get mine on the PC, and then my son has the Xbox Game Pass for his Xbox, and then I also pay the PlayStation service there. So sometimes I get bored with games. I like to interchange, so I like to download what I want to play. Yeah.
I mean, I do Resident Evil 2 in the background. Sometimes it just kind of, I probably hold some speed run record for it for how fast I can blow through it, but it's just my numbness to it. Just, I want to play something. And just, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll throw Leon on and speed run Leon. I don't care anymore.
I gotta say, your shop was pretty amazing. Like looking at all that just brings you back, all the nostalgia that's in that shop.
Thank you. Yep. I'm getting Electronic Gaming Monthly magazines in next week that are like the big collector ones. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I might just leave a few on the table and you could just thumb through, E3 2009, come see, GameCube. Oh my God, what's Nintendo's next console about? And it's kind of fun to look at the old like advertisements too for it's like, Circuit City ads and stuff like that, Radio Shack. And it's like, I guess I have no idea what the hell Circuit City was.
Radio Shack was the shit, man.
You could do a ribbon dancing with the receipt you got from Radio Shack.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on Pokemon before we head out for the night?
Well, they announced a new one. There's a new card set. Of course, there is. Why wouldn't there be? And of course, there's a new game coming out. Why wouldn't they do that too? But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. So I'll keep everybody updated on that when it comes out.
Do they have title announcements for those ones?
Why? It's like Z to A or whatever for the game, and then the next one's like Stellar Crown. That's going to be the TCG one.
Neat. That's pretty cool.
New Pokemon Legends announced for 2025. Yeah, there's the TCG game. I don't see where it has a name, but
I try to worry about the TCG more than I worry about the console game, but it's coming. It's going to be huge. They'll sell 1 million copies.
For the Switch?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us and chit-chatting about some video games. We really appreciate you being here. This upcoming Monday night, we have Lady Jen returning to the variety show to discuss all things paranormal. She is a psychic medium. Last time she hit a couple of things right on the head. She tried to read Jared a little bit. Said some shit that she shouldn't have known, but did know. So
yeah, it was crazy.
I am next for that.
Robbie. Enjoy your Halo.
So make sure you tune in for that, guys. I think that's about it for this weekend. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Rumble, and make sure you're following along over on TikTok as well. If you are into wrestling, we have NDT Squared Circle Sessions over on TikTok. You can also follow the main branch of the show, NDT Podcast, on TikTok as well. So until Monday, guys, I guess we will see you all later.
Thank you, old man.
Later, Gator.
Unleashing the hype, metal tools will be waiting. Join us on the journey, doing this engaging.